going to turn it over to David.
Yep.
and Firevault.
So thank you, Eugene, for the invite. Great to meet you all virtually. Who and what is Firevault? Mark and I formed Firevault about 15 months ago to address what we see as a very key need in the market around data and cybersecurity, which typically is not available today. And I'll go into the reasons why we believe that's the case and how we are bridging and addressing the need in the market for better protection against data and cyber attacks. The mission is to understand how the world is moving, even with AI and announcements made overnight. The fact that AI is able to interject into networks and take control. People's data today is the crown jewel, is the black gold. And data is a very, very significant commodity. It's very precious. And therefore, it needs to be taken seriously and put into places where it can be stored in a way that it's extremely difficult for somebody to try and gain access to it. And what we'll ultimately do, hopefully at the end of it, is talk about how we can try and all work together. So what is Firevault? Who and what is Firevault? And offline secure storage. So we're a UK company. We got formed, as I say, about 15 months ago when we'd worked with an appliance manufacturer who had been around for 7 or 8 years, but had formally obtained patents around air gap technology. Now then, within the cyber world, or in the network world, you have 7 layers of network security. Most people are familiar with layers 3 and 4, which are transport and network software security, firewalls, etc., multi-factor authentication, and basically software-based, for want of a better phrase. Where we operate is at layer 1, which is obviously 3 layers below, which provides physical disconnection of a network to be able to provide that security. So NATO are using the product, the actual core product. It's in certain war zones today, protecting critical national infrastructure and operational technology. And the product that we've built off the back of that is all NATO approved and NATO parts. So we know what it does. It's been tested to the nth degree, and fundamentally it works. So the 2 solutions and products that we'll discuss shortly is one called Firebreak, which is a cybersecurity perimeter protection capability, which helps networks to be able to segregate and isolate areas in the event of a cyber attack or positively on routine maintenance. But what it does, it stops people having to pull wires and cables out of walls. It is non-IP, so it is driven by technology that does not conflict with the virus itself. And it can be, as long as you've got your policies and procedures in place, it takes probably half a minute to a minute to activate. And equally, at the end of the day, to deactivate. Offline secure storage is a very niche application of that we've developed, which basically is the answer to a digital safety deposit box. What you find is that there are a lot of wallets, there's a lot of pockets online that are available for people to store sensitive documents. But what we do is we store those offline by default. You have to go through a process, which I'll talk through in a moment, where you have to wake up and engage with your vault or your storage capability, and nobody else knows it it's disconnected from the internet. It's offline. It's air gap technology. There's a physical disconnection. So whilst it's closed, nobody will be able to discover it. And that's the beauty, and that's the difference about the solution that we have, is that people can't source it, therefore they can't get to the data. So Firebreak, which is, again, sorry if I'm confusing people, please tell me to keep to one product, but Firebreak is an always on solution. So basically, it's allowing the networks to operate and flow as normal until there is an issue, at which point, through, like I said, policies and procedures, somebody is able to segregate and make sure that part of the network is protected and sealed off, or that if there has been an attack, that is isolated within a certain part of the network, and therefore allowing the rest of the business and the rest of the network to continue to operate effectively. Offline secure storage is the 180 of that, because it's offline by default, and it enables the storage of confidential digital assets away from online networks. We're not saying that online networks don't have a function. Of course they do. And for day-to-day storage of digital content, they're great. But when it comes down to sensitive data, they are vulnerable because they are online. And if they're online, they're potentially exposed and can be hacked. And if you take, for example, the director of the FBI was personally hacked a few weeks ago. If he didn't have an adequate set of secure storage, then it shows you what the market is saying and what's available. He did not know about our solution. He needs our solution, because had he had it, his data would not have been accessible from the outside attackers, whilst obviously when the vault is and the storage is offline. Okay, no questions at this point. The Firebreak device, it is a physical device which in effect sits in series within the network. It's driven by ports, so a single port can control a single part of a network. So when a network, or when a solution like ours is discussed, there's an amount of work that needs to be done up front to be able to understand where the sensitive points are and what needs to be protected. Rapid isolation, as I've just said, within a minute, the part of the network can be isolated, and we know that then.
David, I'm going to interrupt you here. Okay, so there's a question in the chat. I believe it's Al. Is that right? If you wouldn't mind asking your question. Unmute.
Okay,
well, I'm going to go ahead and ask it then. He says, data at rest is a cyber issue. Also has an economic component. For example, protect at what cost? One would also need honeypots to derail attackers. How does this work? Do you understand that question?
I think so. Can you let me just go into the chat. Sorry, I'm not being rude. I'm looking at another screen to get the question.
Yeah, if you want, though, I can jump in with the question, especially with the addition of honeypots. So quite openly, yes, data at rest is important, but what we have here is also the ability to control the data in transit. So where Al talks about the need for honeypots to derail the attackers, our reply is very simple. That you don't need honeypots if they're not going to find the asset that you're trying to decept them to get to. So typically, honeypots are very much a need to have within the layer 3 and 4, and the ability to move traffic into areas of the network that you don't want them to go to. But if you've got the perimeter control and you've got the physical disconnect and the offline and the control connectivity, which we have around the offline secure storage, then the reality of the situation is you can't find what is physically offline. So hopefully that helps with the question. And there are three parts of data. Obviously, data in flight, data in transit, and data at rest. And that's what we're, by splitting the journey of each, it allows us to kind of almost minimize most, if not all, of the issues that you would think about when it comes to incidents or root causes.
Mark, this is Eugene again.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you a question, but I want to make sure that Al, if you can put in a chat or unmute and let us know if that answered your question.
Yes, finally unmuted.
Okay.
That sounds good. You also use the Electronic Key Management System Standards, EKMS?
So when it comes to key management, ironically, we don't. It's helpful, but it's a non-issue for us in terms of how we've provisioned the platform. So if you can think about offline secure storage, typically everything today that we're used to as either a consumer or as a IT professional or a cyber professional, everything is IP controlled, which means that everything is subject to everything coming down the same pipe. In real layman's terms, with our offline secure storage, nothing goes down the same pipe. So access goes through a different path to the data. And what you find is, it's a little bit like someone unplugging a hard drive and then asking someone to hack into their network and get into their data. It can't be IP controlled. So hopefully that helps you. I think that, if you're an IT background, it's a little bit too good to be true, but it's actually about IP versus non-IP, which is where this really wins.
So there's a subsequent question, which is, do you use high-speed data encryptors?
At what stage of the journey?
From transmission to reception?
No, because that would assume that someone can have access to the TLS and the transit, but the transit is not related to the access, so you wouldn't have access to one or the other.
But transport layer security is hackable.
Yeah, through layers 3 and 4, if you're not controlling it at layer 1.
Correct.
And we're controlling it at layer 1.
So you're doing that at the physical layer?
Yeah. So we have a physical layer 1 control of. So in layman's terms, we control the path of data to the asset, and that allows us to control what goes where at a very, very granular base.
TLS uses encryption keys. So who's managing to control the keys?
So we have quantum key encryption at rest. And the key is it's a non-factor because it's at rest. So the how we've applied the quantum and how we've applied the keys is the keys are specific to the individual user. So the only time that becomes really relevant for you as a customer is if your vault or your OSS is physically returned to you. Then once you log into your vault through the kind of in-person process that you get shared, the quantum keys become related to your access.
So do you control the key encryption keys that are used to encrypt the TLS data?
We have With the vaults, yes, we set our own security protocols because it's a platform as a service. With the larger capacities for enterprise and for scalability, we work with the customer to really take on board what they want. So if you've got a certain protocol and a certain key policy, that can be taken on at provisioning, and that doesn't really affect the way that we deliver the platform. But everything, certainly at a larger capacity, that can be personalized. At the lower remote access levels, the kind of 300 gigabyte to 8 terabytes, we've kept it as clean and as restrictive as possible, not to impact the user's experience.
Our tech.
I'll give you an example. You look at Signal, which uses encryption, but
yes,
it's developed by Unit 8200 of Israel. So they control the keys that are used to communicate to everything. So do you have a way for the user to generate your own encryption keys to go through TLS? So they absolutely control it, which you cannot access.
No, because we split the access to the data. We split access and data. So the method of access is out of band, and the data is on premise in our data centers and bunkers. So it's certainly something we could look at adding. I think for me, the concern I had was around some of the restrictions that blockchain are applying to TLS certifications, and the fact that because we control it at a port level, this is going a lot deeper than a typical OT IT network. So again, I think for us, it's about trying to answer the problems we're not aware of yet around it comes to user choice, because that could, if the user chooses an encryption key, then loses it. We've designed the vaults to have no access to the vaults. Once they're provisioned and live, the ready-to-buy vaults, we have made a selective choice to make sure that we have no access to that data or that vault. So that would then put the responsibility on the user not to lose their key, break their key, or etc. So it's a very valid point, and I'm happy to add it to my thumb war list because I've got a long list. And maybe from your point of view, it may be that certainly in your experience, this could be something that we bring up on an onboarding conversation. And if you really had a very specific requirement and it didn't go against our security policy or our beliefs, then we could certainly work with you to address that issue.
All right. I don't want to hold you up. Thank you.
No, it's good.
Mark,
thanks for the question.
Al, you want to put your emails in the chat and we'll connect you guys.
Yep, cool. All done. Thank you, mate.
All right.
Our tech.
Anyone else before we move on?
Our tech.
All right.
Okay. We're back to, the final part of the Firebreak piece there is the continuity. So by segregating and isolating only certain parts of a network, the rest of the network can continue and the rest of the business can continue to operate.
Our tech.
So I think quite a lot of this we've just been through, but in terms of offline secure storage, Thales, the engineering contractor, French-based contractor, released a survey a year ago, which I'm sure it's different and changed now, but they stated that 54% of business data stored online is sensitive.
Our tech.
And what we're interested in is that sensitive data. If you've got normal, run-of-the-mill, non-sensitive information that gets stored in the cloud, we have no contention with that whatsoever. What we believe is that when a business has got its crown jewels, its sensitive data, its strategic data, it needs to be looked after in a better way than it is today. And what we've seen, and again, without going too dramatic, you will have all seen numerous incidents where major businesses and governments, and as I say, even the director of the FBI, probably all thought that they were fine. They're okay. We've got layers 3 and 4. We've got firewalls. We've got multi-factor authentication. We've got X, Y, or Z. And they think that their data is ultimately safe until it's not. And what we're seeing and continue to see is some very significant incidents where that data, and again, the universities and colleges in the US in the last week or two is another example of where that's where issues have arisen. So using the layer one level of security, we are totally in the market of disconnect to protect. There's a lot of other providers out there that will say you need to connect to protect. But fundamentally, if you're online, you can be attacked. And it can be, and the hackers are getting smarter and clever, as we know. And it will, ultimately, people do get attacked. What we have as part of our solution is we have soft protection and we have more hard layer security levels. The soft ones being that we house our offline secure storage capability in data centers around the world, including the US. So for those that are worried about data sovereignty, we're fully convenient and we will comply with those requirements. But essentially, we try not to tell our customers or our subscribers where their vault is physically held, particularly at a level of data center, because what we prefer is for them not to be in a situation where they can be held, put pressure on them, their family, or whoever, to say where the data is, their data's located. Now, then that's not Joe Public necessarily, but we've got one CEO of a financial bank in Europe who is talking to us about securing his position because he's scared his wife might get pressured into getting that data from him, that information from him, where his digital assets are located. So essentially, we keep that as far away as possible from people. But country by country, that's more acceptable. But ultimately, then you have multiple layers of multi-factor authentication to wake up your vault so that you're talking to it yourself, and then to be able to actually access it. So the key part here is that the offline secure storage is offline, and therefore it is technically invisible to the world. They can't see it because it's disconnected. As we go through the journey, the Vault itself is an upload and download function of data at rest at this time. We will be, by the end of the year, looking to add a form of backup connection to enable it to be timed backups as and when clients want to do so. But at the moment, it is a physical upload and download of documents and sensitive information. And that, by the way, the digital asset can be any form of digital asset, whether it's crypto keys, whether it's movies, emails, documents, photographs, images, everything doesn't matter. To us, if it's a digital asset, it can be stored within one of our devices, one of our operations. The solution is available, Mark was alluding to it earlier, is we've tried to build a solution for everybody that needs one. So we start off with what we call our Love Vault, which is a low user vault at 300 gigabytes, with some limited access to it because by definition it's low user. We then have our offline, we have our Vault bunch of products, which essentially are 2 to 8 terabytes. 2, 4, and 8. They're ready to go. They're off the shelf. They are platform as a service. So there is a subscription model, 36 months standard contract, and then annual renewal thereafter. In the event that somebody decides at the end of the initial term that they want to come off the service, then, as Mark alluded to earlier, we will return the storage devices to them, so that they are responsible for disposing of that and their data. Firevault never wants to be in a position where we have access to somebody's data.
our tech,
or responsible for erasing it, because at that point, Sod's Law comes in, and at one point, somebody will try and accuse the business of
Our tech-
retaining their data, which is not what we're about. We provide the infrastructure. We're not responsible for the data.
our tech,
David, this is Eugene. So
Hi.
what if I want to keep this on my network or on my cloud?
Our
So
tech-
we do an on-premise
our tech,
solution, as Mark, I think, just alluded to or touched on earlier.
our
We
tech,
have, depending on what the business needs are, if you're an individual or a business that can warrant the cost of it being on-premise,
our tech,
and it is above 8 terabytes, not a problem at all.
our
Not a
tech,
problem. And we've got other clients that we're talking to who basically, one has 307 terabytes of static data that they need to protect. That's costing them something like $20,000 a month just in data charges. We are a lot more cost effective than that, and we provide them with 500 terabytes of storage. So they've got room to grow. So that solution is on their premise and in their data center. We just provide the capability. So obviously there's not a data center charge within the pricing. But what we try to encourage our clients to do is, if you want the business's data stored on your own servers and data centers, that's great.
Our
But the
tech-
real sensitive corporate data, the crown jewel data for the business itself, or the board, should be held in one of our platform as a service vaults and security, offline secure storage capabilities, so that there can't be a compromise should the data center of the client be hacked.
our tech,
So we add that other layer of protection, the real crown jewel stuff, which insurers, cyber insurers are very interested in, making sure that the crown jewels are safe, the strategy, the designs, the IP, that wonderful backup copy that Jaguar Land Rover should have had that cost them £2 billion for not having, are all safe and secure. And what we hope is, in discussions with the major insurance brokers, they tell us that they will look favorably on premiums for somebody that utilizes a solution such as ours, because it secures the core crown jewel data of that business.
So now in that
our tech,
in that discussion, would that
our tech,
help to protect or minimize the potential for an insider threat
Yeah,
to
because
gain access?
it does, because the control rests with the key person in a business. Okay, each incident of a offline secure storage is a one-to-one relationship between the user and the secure storage capability. The only way that can differ is if that user authorizes somebody and gives them access on a timed basis to their secure storage capability. And there's other things that we can go into at another time around how organizations can use what we call a butterfly concept, which is multiple vaults for secure sales methodologies, supply chain, client details, project details, across the board, where individuals have the core credentials for the storage, but
Our
they
tech-
are allowed to give timed access to others to gain access to a particular part of that vault, that folder, where they can download and upload information for a certain period of time. And as I say on this slide as well, just to make sure that when one of these is provisioned, it is accountable and auditable. So timing of people going in, so rogues trying to enter the vault, we will be able to report that somebody's trying to hit the perimeter. But equally, when somebody has access to the storage facility, we know what they've done and when they've done it. And we're able to, there are logs to be able to download to support that. Are you trying to talk, Mark?
Yeah, I was just going to add two or three quick things, Eugene. You're just circling back on your question about cloud. The small print I'd add to that question is cloud is about constant connectivity. So it may be that I would always challenge about how it is that you're using the data versus what you actually need. And our experience is that the vaults can work exactly the way you intend them to, with in-flight, transit, and at rest data. So the beauty of offline secure storage is that there is the controlled connectivity and the physical disconnection, which is the differentiator. When you were asking about inside threat, not to go too nerdy, but we have no admin access or even way of accessing individual vaults. So the opportunity of inside threat is as close to zero as we're going to get. The other side of inside threat, whether it's about company trying to issue the vault, there are many different layers of security. So it could be that David mentioned the way that vaults are accessed. We have to provision the user's phone number and their identity when we set up their account. We have quite a very good onboarding journey for customers. If that customer, let's say you're trying to use a different phone number to activate your vault just ignores you. So again, there are a lot of limits and a lot of work that we go to kind of eradicate SIM spoofing, insider threat, et cetera, and I think we're about as picky as we can get at the moment. So if anyone's got any extra ideas of fun things that I can integrate into the platform that makes it even harder, fun times. But it's I can tell you, I've come up with every crafty opportunity to break my engineer, and he wants to shoot me at the moment. But we're as strict as we can be, to the point that we have our own break the glass scenario, which makes it incredibly hard for David Noyer's founders to even manipulate that. So it's, we do exactly what we can because this is built for security, not for convenience. So apologies not to hijack, but I just thought it was interesting to add.
So thank you.
So following on from that, we have the Vault Buddy concept. So what happens if something were to go wrong? The peace of mind is that when we onboard a new user, whether it's as an individual, a SME, or a major corporate, we put into place what we call the Vault Buddy process, which is they nominate somebody in case they become incapacitated, they pass away, they leave their job, the role, or whatever, that the Vault Buddy is then given access, having checked out that they are who they are and validly entitled. We will then provide them with access, or we will send to them their secure storage facility. Yeah. So there is continuity of use and no data loss.
Okay.
So then, and Mark, if you wouldn't mind going in the chat, and I think Al has a couple of yes or no questions that you can answer for him.
Yeah, I'm in the process of writing the answer as well.
All right, thank you.
So, all good.
Artec.
Do we have a lady that's got a question? I can hear a lady's voice.
Rhonda.
Artec.
Do you have a question, Rhonda? You're unmuted.
Artec.
Okay.
I'm gonna mute her.
Thank you.
Artec.
Okay.
So who are typical users of our offline secure storage? It's any organization typically that has and deals in sensitive data. And it's virtually every business, depending on their size, their complexity, depends on the size of their storage and what sort of solutions they need. But enterprises, government and public sector, we're in the UK here, we're just about to enter discussions with the UK defence people and equally into the Scottish Parliament, who all have needs. We've got local government requirements for child safeguarding data that needs to be secured. Financial institutions, they've got many, financial institutions will tell you that they have data vaults, but they are software parts in the markets banks, market areas of the banks where they're storing transaction data, which is fine, but it's still online. Healthcare organizations, MRI machines are hackable. Healthcare is probably the most targeted sector. And therefore, there's a great need for them to move away from relying on pure layers 3 and 4 and adopting some of the layer 1 capability to provide additional protection for their patients and professionals. Professional services firms, M&A transactions, we are the most secure form of data room. In a transaction where you can, PE houses can provide, or accountants or their lawyers as part of their teams can provide access to other accountants, stakeholders, interested parties, timed access to certain documents, and they control the documents which they allow them to view and when. And individual power users, protecting any form of digital assets that a user may need, whether it's planning for a funeral. Somebody today mentioned to me about executors being a vault buddy. Yes, they should be, because there are instances where people pass, and I came across the unfortunate situation of a guy in LA who was a programmer, and he just passed away on a Saturday afternoon on his sofa. Trouble was, all the keys to the code, his bank account details, his PIN numbers, everything that he operated his life was in his head. And so his spouse has had immense difficulty trying to sort all his affairs out. Whereas if they had used one of our low user vaults, they could have set that all up with the provision for the executor to be able to access and have access to all of that data. Just one very real and personal use case. So Firevault, in reality, with Firebreak as part of its propositions, it's lightning fast to activate, disconnect and connect within 60 seconds, non-IP controlled, provides the business continuity that everybody needs, rapid recovery because you can connect the network back again as quickly as you can disconnect it, and it provides mission critical protection, which we've seen from, as I say, from a number of sensitive war zones. The DoD are looking at taking the product, and there are certain very unusual use cases where that's the case, but they are still mission critical to them. As far as the offline secure storage benefits are concerned, invisible to threats. So if you were to try and find my vault, good luck. It's offline. You won't find it until until I give my vault buddy if I need to access when I'm not able to do stuff. It's accessible 24/7, 365 globally. So when you go back to your old physical assets of the safety deposit box in a bank, you're not restricted to a single location or a single box at a single time. You have access as long as you've got connectivity at any time wherever you are in the world. You're in control of your data, and this is a really, really important piece, because the relationship between the offline secure storage the capability and the user is literally a one-to-one connection. You have control of your data. You do not have it stored in a cloud somewhere where you're in effect renting space from somebody, whether it's iCloud, whether it's Dropbox, whoever. They actually have your data in their data centers somewhere, meaning that ultimately they could be ransom suppliers and suddenly up their price by X times the percentage, and suddenly, if you don't pay it, you don't get your data or access to your data. I'm sure they wouldn't do it, but that is a minor risk. You don't have to wait. You have direct access to what you need, and you can upload and download it extremely quickly. Timed access for others enables you to use it practically for certain situations, and we're very happy to go into some of those at another time in terms of particular use cases. And we provide the users with complete transparency around auditable data movements. And the solutions are flexible and smart. We match them to what you need. 2 ears, one mouth. Fundamentally, it's storage.
Now, before you go on, I want to check and see if anyone has any questions at this point. Any thoughts about applications, anything like that? All right. I'm not hearing anything. Go ahead, David.
Okay, so thank you. So when I spoke to Eugene about the session, one of the, in terms of being a part of the community, is providing our solution to the community, making sure that the community benefits from the offline secure storage and capabilities that we have. For example, part of, as I understand it, the key objectives of the community is to enable members to devise new IP, design new products, services, meeting those needs. And Eugene said at the outset, it's finding some technology that you may not have known existed, but you will evolve and develop it maybe as a JV or in a contract of some sort. And we would love to be able to work with you to partner and keep that data secure.
I want to interrupt you again. Sorry. Felicity, I was going to call on you because I know you play in this space quite heavily, and I wanted to get your thoughts on applications, if you don't mind unmuting and sharing.
Oh, well, this is terrific. Hi, I work at Carosoft. Great presentation. Just trying to get a sense of where you are in the ecosystem and to what degree you're, you have any tech integration partners in your go-to-market or your tech stack?
So at the moment, the platform as a service is built by us. We have our own engineers that build the secure storage capability. And those are in data centers around the world, from the US to India to the UK to Europe. In terms of the larger projects, then we are looking to work with integration partners. That's
Great.
not our speciality. We're not SIs. We provide the capability and solution.
Have a chat with you. I did a quick look in our CRM. I didn't find you.
No, you won't. Felicity, hi, it's Mark. So what we are doing, as you can imagine, and David's kind of mentioned the offline secure storage, and that gives it away in the name, and sorry, it is very much about storage. That said, we can't say too much because we haven't signed off the official press release or anything that yet. But we have we've been running some fun things on the lab, which is fundamentally a journey of almost like a backup workload, where there are protocols that push from in-flight data to data at rest, and they are controlled by timed access windows or by triggers. What that means is, in reality, is anything that operates with an API or with standard protocols can push into a vault or into an offline secure storage capacity. Now, the small print is if someone wants to go gangbuster with the size of data, it's about how long that transit needs to happen and all of those small prints and those fun things. But we're open to everything. I think we're trying to keep our powder as dry as possible, because the more we integrate, the more there becomes risk. Because I don't know whether it's the same for you guys, but certainly 95% of the high-profile incidents in Europe have been caused by API vulnerabilities. And, you know, the beauty of what we have architected here is we have that granular control of data and where it goes. And we really want to keep that hygiene. So if you've got any ideas, so for example, we're looking at potentially almost like a file process where the file can be deemed malicious or not before it lands into the vault. We've got the ability to potentially, there's some really cool tools out there that instead of MFA and passkeyed, it's voice and biometric access. I've got to be honest, that's a bit romantic for me at the moment. It causes too many pains in my head about what other questions we should answer. But the other thing I would just add is, you know, it really is down to, and this is what David was saying about user cases. We have some really beautiful examples of customers of ours wanting a data room.
Right.
You know, and it's really a case of, because it's a capacity, it's almost limited by the imagination and the tech demands of the customer. So, for example, we have a customer that wants to run an AI brain out of their vault. That's fine. It's on premise. It's huge, and it does what it needs to do. So there is nothing stopping us putting things in container and having the same level of protection and security that OSS offers. But that's about offering support for our customers. You know, it's about works for you.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm thinking, I mean, we have a huge tech stack in this space. I'm just trying to figure out to what degree, like, you know, Rubrik, Cohesity, Veeam, you know, Dell Cyber Recovery, Volt, Acronis, Wasabi, would they consider you a frenemy? I mean, I know you have the differentiation, obviously, is the basically disconnected, but, you know, I'm just trying to get a sense. We have, you know, an entire zero trust critical infrastructure stack. And, you know, it seems very interesting. I'm just trying to get a better sense of your.
You could probably see me grinning. I prefer zero chance rather than zero trust. I think that we're not the climate of the industry has moved significantly to say, you know, I think trust no one is the best protocol going forward. And you know, so for example, when you talk about brilliant partners like Veeam, they obviously have an ingrained relationship with Object First, and bless them, that's pretty much a data diode environment that says it can't be ransomed. Well, it's IP controlled, so it absolutely can be ransomed. And I think you know, for what it's worth, I would actually say that if you're someone that buys into the 3211 process when it comes to data, replace that second one with a 0 and make sure it's offline. And I think that's what you're going to see as the change. Is I would certainly from your point of view, Felicity, I would never say it's an either or. I would say that, you know, our OSS is plug and play. It's simple, stupid. In terms of security, it's designed to work and work well. And to be honest with you, I've had a lot of fun discoveries with engineers across most of those players.
Oh, cool.
And they get really annoyed, right? Because AWS have gone and launched Nitro, which is a hypervisor, and we've kind of killed that capacity in under 6 seconds. So yeah, look, I think we're just trying to be humble and trying to be mindful. You know, at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know until someone says, oh, this is the problem. But right now, especially with the movement of AI frontiers, if you don't get physical control at a network level, you're kind of handing your keys over anyways.
Perfect. I'll let someone else go, but I'm just popping my info in the chat here. I'd love to continue the convo. Cheers. Over.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I thank you, Felicity. Appreciate it. All right, so we got 15 minutes left. I don't know where you were at in your presentation, David. Okay, there we go. So I had two questions of my own that I wanted to address here. First, Mark, you mentioned in-flight, in-transit. Are those two different things, or is that the same thing? I've never.
So in-flight is live data. So if you look at, so typically when I talk about, and this is certainly how I've looked at data. So I could be technically wrong, but that would be fun. The in-flight data is, if you think about your question about cloud, when you're putting in and you're wanting an immediate response from your database, that's in-flight because it's live.
Okay, so
in transit is from A to B, and rest is where it lands. That's the way I'd summarize it.
All right, I'd never heard the term flight before, so it was new to me. And then now I'm going to show a little bit of my ignorance here because I am not a software guy. You talked about AI operating within one of these offline storage things. So if I've got AI crunching data, and I want that to happen offline, but I want the AI to let me know when it's done crunching, or when it gets to a point that it needs me to do some kind of review. Does the AI have the ability to open up that connection, or can it?
No.
Would you even want it?
No, absolutely not. So I think there's a couple of I would say environmental factors in that question, Eugene, which is if we're saying that your offline secure storage is one of the ready to buy capacities that David's mentioned, the 300 gigabyte up to the 8 terabyte, those are held in one of our data centers / bunkers globally. So that is a very clean, you access it via the process that you're issued or after provisioning, and those are your methods of access. If you are talking to David and I in this environment and you're explaining and saying, look, like you just said, I want to be able to do X, Y, Z, we would have to kind of find out what is the best realistic method of giving you that. What I would say is my ideal situation for you is if your AI data is huge, I would have an on-premise vault or capacity that allows you to tell yourself within the network when your network is also benefiting from the same protection that your OSS is. But fundamentally, you only want the AI to push and pull. So, for example, and I'm conscious of time and I don't want to go too nerdy, but in theory sense, you could allow your AI to do everything it needs to do within the container, and you could have time-based windows of when that AI sends that data back to you in a controlled connectivity state. But that would have to be thought about and architected. Definitely possible. And the reason I know that is because we currently have a university close to me that is it's a leading AI center. And I am currently ruining most of the diplomas and the master graduates about how they're sitting and using their AI. Because I think that's the thing, right? We have to start containerizing AI.
Yeah. I'm going to cut you short here so we can continue the conversation. But yeah, I mean, if you just think about the pharmaceutical industry and what they're trying to do, and everything that they're doing is IP based. So they want to keep that locked down as much as possible. All right, so there's a question from Alan. And we can continue this conversation later, Mark.
Definitely. Yeah. Go on, Alan. Sorry.
Go ahead, Alan. I'm not hearing you if you're unmuted.
No, he's live. I've answered most. Yeah, I've answered most of his questions as well, Eugene. We're having a good.
No, that's Al, not Alan.
No, don't listen, Mark. Just
good stuff.
I was typing a question. You said that you secure communications at TLS security you use in the OSI level, where TSS security is defined at level 3. Okay, so are the users communicating at level 3 to your system, which you then communicated to level 1 hardware? How do you deal with that? One's at level 3 at the user level. You're saying that you're at the hardware level. So
yeah, we are. So there are 3 main environments. We have the control connectivity, the secured offline access, and the secured offline data. So I'm just trying to work out what from the layer 3 would determine network or and 4 would be software. This is about physical control of access to data. So the actual access to the files and the data goes through, will be within their tunnel, within their layer 3 environment, because it's in our network as part of the platform.
Right. Because to do what you're describing, the end user would need a special device to reduce the TLS communication down to level 1 hardware on the end user point. So you don't have a special device on the end user for that.
No, I think maybe it's worth having another session, because I think you're not in terms of how the platform's architected,
right.
And the way that we work. We have, I understand what you're asking, but I think that is relevant in an IT network, not within, in terms of the architecture and the way the platform is structured. I would say that if you were trying to use some type of VPN journey, absolutely. But this is not even, this is much more closer to an OT Purdue type of environment than an IT environment. And as a result, what we've got is, certainly when it becomes access to the vaults, is ironically, it's a very linear journey. So for us, it's, you can't avoid TLSs, but in reality, edge certificates with the control and the way we've architected, it means that it has the right provision of security and control. And I think that the reality is, when you get into the granularity and you can control the data path and the data itself, where it goes to and how, also, certainly, because obviously with the question around SIP trunking and things like that, we wouldn't even, certainly my preference is I wouldn't even want to get anywhere close to that, because that would potentially bring more issues into the security protocols and the way we've architected it. But I'm having a lot of fun winding up 2 or 3 of my engineers as we talk, which is quite fun. But I think, it's one of those things, depending, why don't we have a separate session outside of this? I'm happy to do so. I don't want to take up any more of David's presentation time, but there's, if you want to have a good technical thumb of war, which I love, let's do that, and we can crack on.
Okay, yeah, let David work. Let me get out of the way.
Hey, Alan H. I don't know if that's Alan Holm. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's me. Sorry. I just had a real quick question. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like, this is a very impressive setup that you have, but I was thinking about something very simple. What rule of law, since you keep everything with regard to your storage in different countries, but is there any rule of law that's out there that would compel you to give up the data? The reason why I ask is things like happen in the news with regard to like iPhone encryptions and government entities trying to force Apple to give up its encryption codes and things like that. I know that you're starting up and all this stuff, but I was just wondering in this case, is there some type of security or encryption included that even if you wanted to, you couldn't give up the data, or the data could not be given up to any government entity? Over.
So our basic, this sounds a little bit simple, but please bear with me while I explain so. So within the terms and conditions, anybody that takes one of our offline secure storage for capabilities is required to confirm that it will be legal and that they honor data sovereignty laws. So we're not responsible as Firevault for the data within inside the infrastructure. That is solely and utterly down to the user. In the event that Firevault gets served with a bona fide court order of some sort, then naturally we'll be going through a legal process to validate what they're entitled to or not. At the end of the day, if there is data in there and we are required to give it up by a bona fide court and a court order, then I'm not quite sure what we could do apart from being held in contempt of court if we resisted to the nth degree. Because it's not, we are providing an infrastructure as a service, if you like. We're not providing or managing the data which is within our storage capability. Does that answer the question?
Sir, yeah, that does answer the question. I don't know. I guess the only other thing is that I would build. I would have a very good legal team.
We recognise that there could be that need. The last thing we want is a shed load of writs. that doesn't help anybody.
The average user or people who've been harmed by this will probably think, well, how come you don't know what you put in the box? I mean, you say, I understand safe deposit boxes. It's the same physical idea. You're not really responsible for what people put in safe deposit boxes. You just assure that it isn't something that's harmful or something that's illegal. I mean, that's one of those things that's out there, and I understand that from a physical point of view and things like that. But there are people that are out there because of the digital footprint that's out there, and it's permanent, that there's serious concerns, and people try to, I guess, undo things that are on the internet, and the internet is forever. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for your question.
I'm going to interrupt you, David. So we got 3 minutes left, or less than 3 minutes. Can you get to your asks before we leave?
So, the asks really are, look, we want to do business with you guys.
Put your contact slide up.
Sorry, I could put the benefit one up first. So there's the contact slide, Mark and my details. So look, we would love to do business with all of you guys. We also believe in collaboration, and if we can help any of the community members this side of the pond to drive their products and services into the market, or we can help in any way, we would love to do so. But naturally, our core piece is, can we do business, please? Can we help you guys be more secure and keep your data more secure? And thank you again, Eugene, for your kind invite and patience. And thanks to the audience for taking the time to attend and listen.